Today I'm with Andy Ricko Richardson, head coach of Scunthorpe Boxing Club. How are you doing today, Andy? And I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, I'm doing fine, thank you. So nice weather for a change.
It is. And like I say, you're head coach of Scunthorpe Boxing Club. Was it always an ambition to run a boxing club?
No, certainly not. So around 2008, I was helping out at another club, and I got my son in just doing a bit of fitness and stuff like that. But the club wasn't run very well. The bloke who was running it was a bit of a con man around Scunthorpe. Ended up shutting the club. And then I was asked by a few people on England boxing around the region and a few of the boxers and that lot if I'd open one. So we decided to open one.
And how difficult was it to set up in the first place, funding-wise?
Yeah, so it wasn't too bad setting the club up, but funding's always been a problem. I think, truth be known, if I'd have known how hard it was, I don't know if I'd do it again, that is for sure. So I think that it needs to get better for grassroots boxing and grassroots sports in this country, really. Make it a bit easier, stuff like that. Just even things like, none of us are probably great at writing bids and stuff like that. You need a degree in it nowadays to write some of the bids. So, it puts clubs back a lot.
And it's difficult running a boxing club in normal circumstances, especially as head coach. You go wear many hats. What makes a good head coach, Andy, do you think?
It's a good question. I think everyone's different. So, like you say, it's many bows that you have to wear and hats that you have to wear and that lot. My personal view is I don't dictate to the other coaches and stuff like that. They're there for a reason as well. I try to lead in a way where we say, bring something to the table. If you want to try something new, try it. You're good enough to know if it'll work, if it needs adjusting, or if it hasn't worked, scrap it. So that always, and I'm very lucky that we've had a good team, around at Scunthorpe Boxing Club, some great coaches. That I like to improve.
Have you got good support there at Scunthorpe?
Yeah, so over the 10, 11 years we've been open, we've had coaches come, coaches go. We've had a few go and set their own gyms up that we've helped with to help them set up as well. So we've been very lucky in that lot. But yeah, we've got a good team around us. I think we all sing off the same hymn sheet for the basics, and then after that, we try to bring different things into it.
And who is the boxing club aimed at? Is it boxers mainly, or fitness as well?
No, it's mainly for boxers, but it's mainly for anybody to come and have a try. As you know, being in a boxing club, there's a large percentage of the young kids that will come through that will probably never box. But we also have other things going on at our club. So if there is young people out there that possibly won't end up boxing for one reason or not, is there other things we can push them down the coaching side, fitness side, the nutrition side, and give them help and education that way. So I think there's plenty of roles in the boxing that just, everyone's ambition when they're young, if they come to a boxing club, is to get in that ring, but it's not always going to be the case, unfortunately.
Obviously, we've had the pandemic, so the clubs have been shut, but hopefully it's looking good now, and we'll be reopening soon. What ages do you have at Scunthorpe? What does it range from?
Yeah, so we start with a kids class maybe once a week, which is from sort of 7, 8, 9-year-olds. And then we have some beginners from anywhere from sort of 13, well, actually from about 11 to 16, 17, and then adults as well. And then a 3 nights a week as well, where we have our squad nights as well. So the squads can come to the beginners classes and help out. I think it's a great thing when you see the beginners learning the trade, and you've got someone like Gemma or Ebony Jess or some of the more experienced boxers actually come training next to them. But the focus mainly on them nights are the beginners, and the bigger boxers are in there doing sort of joining in as well, and going back to the basics as well, which is still a big thing that I would believe in. Even James, who's just turned pro, will still go over them beginning stuff.
Now, Gemma and James, your children, obviously very successful boxers, but you've mentioned to me before, it's not just them. You've got a very strong squad at Scunthorpe. Who are the other boxers we should be looking out for
The boxers we should be looking out for. We've got quite a few good up and coming boxers. Some good lads coming through. Mohammed, Bonnet Smith, Alcox. They're all coming through really well. The girls, why we've been successful with the girls over the year, last few years. Ebony Jones went on to win a European gold, first schoolgirl to do it from England. Jessica Keaton, she's another one that went over, won nationals. She joined from another club. She'd had a few skills Bout. She joined us, wanted to lose weight more than anything. So we set out, looked at a nutrition plan for her. So we don't just say to them, go and lose weight. You know what I mean? We'll help them if that's their goal and they want to lose weight. So we set out nutrition. She got into the boxing. She started competing. I think she won her first 12 bouts, including national titles, got picked to go to the Europeans and won gold in the Europeans as well. So we've been successful internationally as well now.
Yeah. And you were saying about Gemma's friend who's had to stop boxing, but what she's achieved in the sport is incredible anyway, isn't it? She just reached GB, hasn't she?
Yeah, so Gemma and her met in 2000, well, I'm terrible with years, but probably about 2015, 16 when they first made. So the first ever, getting on England was a little bit different back then. It was run really well by Amanda Coulson. So you had the males run by Mickey Driscoll and the females by Amanda. They went to a camp in Warrington. It was a 3-day camp, then another assessment to get on. And Simran and Gemma roomed from that day one. And then they roomed and became best mates. Well, I said they're more like sisters. And then, unfortunately, this year we had to find out that Simran's had to stop boxing for medical reasons. But the achievements that young lady's brought has been fantastic. And I think we'll see her still in the sport. You know, I think she'll make a great coach. And go through that lines, hopefully. It'd be a shame to lose some talent like that.
Yeah, definitely. Now, talking about the sport there, what do you think boxing does for people? Not just those who box, but like you say, people who come to the club as well.
Yeah, I think it gives them a lot. So you obviously get that, everyone talks about that discipline and stuff like that. Which is, you know, it's definitely there. I think it gives them a purpose. I think it's football and mainstream sports is not for everybody, so it gives that opportunity for other things. I think it channels a lot of energy as well. I think it's even though it's an individual sport, it's still quite a team sport in the gym. I think you always, I think you'll find some of the biggest characters in the boxing gym, without a doubt, and some of the funniest things and laughs will go on in the boxing gym in a training session. So it gives them that purpose as well. So I think it brings a lot to them. It'd be great to see a little bit more backing from the grassroots. I think there's a big opportunity there in this country. And we're flying, you know, we're improving all the time internationally as well, which is fantastic over the last sort of 7 or 8 years.
Where did your passion come from for the sport? I know there's your children now, and coaching as head coach, but in your early years, did you love boxing? Did you love watching boxing?
Well, I'm a bit of a rarity, actually, so I get quite a bit of stress and a bit of banter and stuff like that over the years because I never actually competed in boxing. So I'm one of the few coaches that's not actually competed, but I have been around the gyms for many years and that lot. And so I worked nightclubs and I was probably a little bit of a tear away. So I was in and out of boxing gyms. And kickboxing was my sort of thing. I spent a lot of time kickboxing and Muay Thai boxing, but not competing because, I'll be honest with you, I just didn't have the discipline that you need. It just wasn't for me. I enjoyed going out there, enjoyed having a spar and a bit of a ruck, but it wasn't for me, the discipline and the lifestyle. I think you need to leave it. So I've always been interested in the boxing. I've always watched the boxing. I've been in and out of the gyms with the boxing. But I just never had the discipline to do what these boxers do.
Yeah. Now, going on to your children, they've both been incredibly successful. Got James, who's just about to turn professional, and Gemma, who's obviously made GB. How excited are you for James about the journey he's about to go on as a professional boxer?
Yeah, I think it's been, I've probably held him back an extra year. Just we wanted to do a few more things in the amateurs. So I held him back a little bit But he trained so hard in that. He was a bit unlucky. He won, you know, he's won nationals. He's boxed for England. He's been successful that way. And at the right point of being picked for Europeans and selections and that, like, he got quite a bad injury that put him out for quite. So he's been a little bit unlucky for a couple of years with injuries when he was younger. But then, you know, he's injury free. He's gone on a good run. He's had, I think, 65 bouts, stuff like that, winning 40 something. So, you know, a decent level. And the way we train probably over in Scunthorpe, a lot of our fighters probably have a little bit more of that pro style rather than the amateurs. So I think it'll suit him. I think the journey's going to be really good. He's still young. He's only 24, so just turned 24. So he's still quite young, very fit. So it's going to be a great journey to see him.
Is he the first professional out of your club?
Yeah, so I've held my professional licence for quite a few years, but never really sort of gone down. I've helped on some of the small hole shows. So I'm good friends with Carl Greaves, who's a big promoter over this way. So yeah, so I've helped out and then, but I've never really found that sort of person that I want to train in that lot. And then obviously James was always had his heights on. Gemma's heights were always to go try and do Olympics. James was always trying me in pro. So it's been building up to this now. So I'll be involved some way. I'll start off as a coach, but I'm quite happy to turn around at some point and say, you know, he's maybe got to a standard where it's beyond me. So I'll just sit
Joe
down.
Calzaghe was very similar story. And when he left Enzo Calzaghe, he wasn't happy. And he ended up going back with his dad.
Yeah, but we'll make that decision together and see how it goes. You know, it's early time, so he should have had his pro debut by now, but obviously the pandemic, we haven't, so we're just waiting for a date, hopefully September time onwards. But yeah, he'll be raring to go.
Now, going back in time and taking your coach's hat off for a minute and putting your dad's hat on, can you remember James's first bout when he went in the ring?
Yeah.
How you felt?
Nervous. Yeah. I was probably more scared from the wife, wondering if I've done the right thing. You know, if he come out and got a good hiding, then I think I would have got a good hiding as well. I think so. So yeah, it's very daunting. I think being a parent and coaching. I think we spoke about it before. I think you said your son boxing, you're involved. So it's always a bit daunting when it's your own sort of sibling, your own son or daughter. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I felt more comfortable as it went along because I was coaching alongside him. I wasn't his coach, but I coached in the same gym. So yeah. You knew what they were capable of. So when it came to the bout time, you had confidence in their abilities.
Yeah, and that's probably the secret. You've got to have confidence in them and stuff like that. And listen, we're dads as well as coaches and that lot, so you know if it's right and if they're ready, stuff like that. So
now going to Gemma, she's just made the GB squad. Incredible achievement. What did that mean for the family? Because you're all involved in boxing.
Yeah, I remember getting the email. Because she was still quite young. It was quite early before. She was still, I think she was prepping for the youth Europeans. So she was still a youth boxer at the time when they offered her a place on GB, so very young. It was fantastic for the family in that lot. You know, it's something that Gemma has worked to and wanted so much. Is, you know, that's your next progression. And we set goals for sort of James and Gemma and that lot. So we look at short term, mid term, long term and that lot. And this is just another part of them goals that's going in the right direction to hopefully the end goals. So it was, we thought it would come. We thought there was a good opportunity at some point. She'd been looked at by GB and she was. And GB have been really good. I think the way they've done it, they've slowly brought her onto the GB team. Not just rushed her straight into it with her being so young. So, and I think that's worked, to be fair.
Now, she's at the top of sports in England and GB. How much you've been alongside her the whole way? How much commitment has that taken to get to that level?
Yeah, massive amount of commitments. Everything from, you know, training her at home in her own gym, with our own coaches, to travelling around the country, travelling around Europe, taking her to camps, financial burden as well, that probably people don't speak about, you know, when you're boxing internationally for England and stuff like that, there is that little bit of money that's paid for her if she went away to a major tournament or something like that. But, you know, you could be up and down. You know, I know one weekend we was in Dagenham, you know, which is like a 4-hour. I had to pay for an hotel, stuff like that. And then you could be up in Middlesbrough, you could be in Liverpool, you can be anywhere. So there's that financial burden for but like that for any parent, and that like at the top of their game, that always comes with it. But yeah, time, effort, emotional effort as well.
Did you feel it brought something to the family though? I did. Like some of our special moments were during those boxing memories, where especially when they become teenagers, you lose a bit of that banter between each other. You certainly have it in a boxing club, don't you?
I think we've kept that in the boxing part, yeah. So that it's been a big part of our Richardson family and that lot. So, you know, a lot of good memories have been around the boxing and a lot of good laughs and people that you meet through boxing as well.
And our understanding is your wife with you, James, and Gemma all involved in the boxing.
Oh well,
support.
Yeah, she hates the boxing. She'll come and watch it and she'll support them like any parent will and that, but she'd rather they didn't do it. She'd certainly picked a different sport for them to do it. I think she's the one that keeps all three of us grounded as well. So she's the one that she's certainly the one that will put it down on all three of us if she needs to be putting it down and saying enough's enough now, leave it and talk about something else and something like that. But we've got a good understanding here as well. So we try and leave a lot of the boxing out, you know, in the gym and at boxing times, and then come back to family times when we come home.
How do you help them deal, James and Gemma, with the pressure of the sport? Very intense sport, demanding. Decisions can go against you, that type of thing. How do you help them deal with that?
I think being honest for starters. I think we're quite honest coaches, especially myself. You know, if I don't think they've won or if I don't think they've performed right, I'm quite honest in that lot. I certainly try not to put any pressure on them because they've got enough pressure on the shoulders from themselves. So they've always been brought up to me that one of the big things is performance over results. You know, a lot of results, unfortunately, in this sport are taken out of my hand. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. I try and look at performance, and that will a good thing. Will the performance will normally oversee everything else, you know? So that's what you've got to look at. And of course, you know, if they've had a loss in that lot, it's a bit downhearted for them in that lot. But we have to take that positives and stuff like that from there as well.
I know, like I said, they've been very successful, and obviously as a dad you're proud, but you must be proud of yourself as a coach that they've reached this level.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, I'd probably get quite a lot of praise in that lot. What people don't realise is we have a massive team, so I'm quite happy to put my hands up and say. So a lot of coaches I come across seem to be, well, it's my boxer. I do everything. I don't work like that. So, for instance, when we needed to pick Gemma and James's and some of the other boxes running up, well, I'm not, you know, look at the size of me. I'm certainly not a running coach. That is. So we ended up getting a running coach in for 2 years, who gave up a couple of hours free of his time on once a week. With the running setup, the S&C side of it, you know, I know the basics again for S&C like I do running. So we brought in someone who's involved with S&C. That's their bread and butter. I don't have a problem with my boxers working with other coaches and other pads. I think if you can teach a boxer 100 things and they take 2 things from that or 50 things from that, that's brilliant. It's a bit more to their bow. So I see a lot of coaches, I think it jeopardised. And that's probably why I had a really good rapport with Mickey Driscoll in England, to be fair. So going through the international stage with James and Gemma, I've had a really good rapport with them and feedback, stuff like that, and how we work and what does he see they need to be improving on, what can I improve on, what can we improve on in the gym when they're not with England, stuff like that. So I think that's helped massively in their progress as well. I think some coaches, if they just want to keep everything to themselves, can sometimes sort of smother the boxer, and it's not going to give them the best opportunity. But everyone's different as well. It don't mean that I'm right or they're right.
Yeah. Now, going back to Scunthorpe and it reopening, how excited are you for the club returning back to normal?
Yeah, I can't wait. Made quite a bit of changes as well, so we've had time to. It's like everything. Scunthorpe's a bit of a Scunthorpe Boxing Club. It was I won't say it's a complete sort of old school, but you know, it certainly needed a bit of a freshening up, a bit of a clean up. We've updated some of the equipment. We've brought some new equipment in. We've changed it around. It's given us that opportunity to spend a bit of time in the gym and the opportunity with some of these grants to update some stuff as well. So I think it's going to be great when we do open as a club. But it's been great just to get kids back in and boxers back in as well. You know, they need it. So I don't know what they're going to come back into. So when we first went into lockdown, you know, we had a lot of Zoom meetings. I've seen that die down a hell of a lot. I think we'll probably lose boxing wise competing. We may lose, I don't know, 20% in that lot. But, you know, I think as a beginner and the bread and butter of your club, which brings in the subs and your next lot of talent and your next lot of boxers, which obviously is going to produce shows for us to produce revenue. I just don't know where that's going to be, if truth be known. I think it could be real down on numbers. It could be like starting all over again.
And what would you say to those parents thinking of sending their children to try boxing, or someone who's even older who wants to try boxing for the first time? What would you say about coming to your club?
Yeah, give it a try. Come to, you know, our club's friend. I think the old stigma of walking in the boxing gym, you know, in the 80s and 90s, and you think, oh no, it's going to be full of bullies and it's going to be fun. It's nothing like that at all. What we do expect, and I think most of the clubs in the country, we expect you to put some effort and train hard and that lot. Over the years, we've had some people say, oh, you haven't done pads with little Johnny, and you know, it's his first week, and you haven't come and learn the trade and that lot. Enjoy it, learn it, get involved, give it 100%, and try it. And if it's not for them, move on to another sport, try another sport, stuff like that. And if it is for them, hopefully you'll settle in, and one day you'll be in that ring.
I know our club is like this. There's certainly a period of time of learning the basics of defence and things like that before you're allowed to step even nearer getting in the boxing ring. Is Scunthorpe the same?
Exactly the same. So, you know, it's a breakdown of everything. Come in, learn the basics. Then we up the basics a little bit harder. And then we up the training a little bit harder and the fitness a little bit harder. And then you'll start doing your pads. And then you'll start maybe moving around on the floor. It's a slow process. And then you may start, you know, get to an ability after so many months. It might be ability where you could have a little spar. And what we do is we'll try and spar them with the experienced boxers. We'll use the likes of James, Gemma, stuff like that, because they're the ones that can control it. There's no worse than the first spar of seeing two complete, utter novices get in there and everything goes out the window and they're just swinging and that lot. Where if you use some of your experienced boxers, you've got that a lot more control. And then we'll you know, we'll give them another step on sparring, and it might be someone, you know, a little bit more competitive for them and stuff like that. And then hopefully then you'll start taking them out sparring, give them some pressure of going into another gym, which is always great, because the first time you see the look on your boxer's face when they're thinking, what am I doing here and what's it going to be like? And they go out there and they feel that pressure and that lot. And then before you know it, hopefully, if everything's gone right, they're going to be on a Scunny show or a show somewhere in the country.
That's fantastic. And last question, Andy. Like I say, it is an extremely tough sport. What is it that you love about boxing?
Oh, wow. I love it. Just the whole lot is an experience for me. I like the journey you see these people making. I like the training side that you see them. I like to see a bit of pressure on these young shoulders, because you know what, they do handle it. I like the banter in the gym. I like the competitive side of it. It's a family, isn't it? You know, I haven't been around the scene now for coming up 18 months, probably 14 months and that lot, by the time we go to shows and that lot. And I'll see someone from, you know, Cornwall that I haven't seen for 2 or 3 years, and you're talking to like you know, you haven't seen them for 2 or 3 weeks. So there's just so much. It's such an open sport. It really is. And there's probably no sport like it as well, to be fair.
Well, that's great, and I appreciate your time, Andy, and all the best with Scunthorpe Boxing Club when it reopens.
Thanks very much.